Okay. If I can have everyone's attention, please, it's now time to call the City of Franklin City Commission to order. And at this time, we have with us Brother Eric Walker. And if he will, we'll ask you to come and lead us in a word of prayer to open up our meeting. It's always good to have you here, Brother Eric.
It's always good to be here once again. Thank you, Mayor. Once again, thank you to all those that are commissioned, those that are here. It's always an honor to come pray for our city and pray for those who are leading our city. So thank you once again. That's right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for this moment. We pray for these leaders as they do what you have called them to do, that they can be great stewards over what you have called them to be over, which is your city. And Father, we know that you are a merciful God and a grateful God, but we also know that you are a just God and you are a fair God. And God, I pray that for this meeting that we can be fair and that it can be just. Father, I lift up those that are here with issues and maybe compliments and complaints, but I pray that we can come together as a body and do what's best for the city. And Father, I just lift up the mayor, I lift up the city commission, I lift up the police department, the fire department, all those that are working for the city. I pray for their safety and I pray for their health, and I pray that you will watch over them and that you will lead them. Most of all, Father, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. It is because of what he has done on the cross. We have the opportunity to be here, not just to make the place that we live in better, but to make us better. Because we know that change begins on the inside way before it begins on the outside. So, Father, we ask for change in our hearts before we can change our city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Brother Eric. We appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us.
Thanks for having me.
And we will now move on to the approval of our minutes, and that will be the approval of minutes of the February 28th, 2022 regular meeting, and then also the approval of minutes of the March 1, 2022 special call city-county meeting. And Scott, we can take both of those in one motion. Right, okay. I'm assuming that everyone's had an opportunity to look over the minutes, or any questions or any comments from...
Make a motion, we approve them.
Yes, we have a motion by Commissioner Powell to approve them, and a second by Commissioner Williams. And at this time, we'll have a roll call vote. Commissioner Stewart?
Yes.
Commissioner Bennett?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
My vote's a yes, and that motion carries. And I don't think we have anything under, or hear the public. Recognitions? No recognition. We'll move on to community services, and it is my delight today to introduce to you all, and I'm sure she needs no introduction, but Ms. Jolie Brown, who is the Director of Housing of the Housing Authority in Franklin. The housing she does, I cannot say enough good accolades about Jolie Brown and about the job that she does with the Housing Authority. And there are many things that I could go on and say to give her an introduction, but she has. We have a lot of statistics that she is going to bring before you today and tell you more about what the Housing Authority does and how the City of Franklin, how we're involved in that. But again, Jolie, we welcome you to the podium, and I just want to say again, this lady does a wonderful job, and the City of Franklin and the Housing Authority is so lucky to have her and to do the job that she does with it.
Well, thank you so much. That's such a kind introduction, and I really appreciate it, but I certainly cannot take much of the credit for the success of the Housing Authority and our other housing agency, Franklin Affordable. We have such a great staff at the Housing Authority that does such a great job. They just show up and really give their all every day, and they make me look good. So I appreciate them so much. And we also have a really, really incredible board of directors, which includes our wonderful mayor, and they just have servant hearts, and they care very much about our community and our residents, and they make decisions that better the lives of our residents and also pave the way for additional affordable housing opportunities. And I really feel lucky to have each of them in leadership roles with our organization. So we have two different organizations. We have the Housing Authority of Franklin, which most people are familiar with, and then we also have a separate organization called Franklin Affordable Housing, which is a nonprofit housing agency. And a lot of people do not know much about Franklin Affordable, so I'll take some time today to talk a little bit about each of those entities and then tell you about some of the accomplishments from both of those entities, and then tell you a little bit about what's in the future for those entities. So, first of all, is with the Housing Authority, we have 110 units. Back when those were formed in the 70s, they were given what was called a fair cost limit. A fair cost limit is the total number of units that you can have with that housing authority. That number does not increase. The number for our housing authority is 110 units. When I started in 2013, we had 108 units. And so, several years into my career with the housing authority, we decided to develop a duplex to get those two remaining units built. And we built two 3-bedroom homes. It's a duplex, because all of our one-level homes were either 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom and did not accommodate a larger family. So we wanted families to be able to have an affordable place to stay that was one level if they could not use stairs. And that is a beautiful duplex. If you have time, drive up on Linden Street and take a look at that. And also, I would encourage you, if you haven't driven through the Housing Authority in some time, I hear the reputation back several decades ago was that it was a bit of a scary place to be, and people were a little bit frightened to drive through there, and you will not find that now. So I would encourage anyone that is not familiar with the complex to come and take a drive through and take a look, because it's a different neighborhood now. Most recently, we had a HUD physical inspection, and that is where HUD sends an inspector. They come through and they choose about 30% of our units, and they do a thorough inspection of those units. And they also inspect our grounds. And it's been a little bit challenging, as we've all had challenges in our careers over the past couple of years with COVID. We weren't able to get in those units as often as we wanted to. We typically do an annual inspection to make sure that those are in good shape. But our maintenance crew has done such a good job in that time when they've been in there for work orders and filter changes to try to identify things that needed to be repaired and to repair those in a timely manner. And we just had that inspection, and we were really pleased. We improved our scores. We got a 90 on Ashmore Village, which is the entity that had 108 units that was original from the 70s. And we got a 96 on our duplex up at Linden Street. That was an improvement from our 2017 scores, which were 89 and 94. And then back in 2014, we got an 85. And Rhodey Place at that time was not great, it wasn't built. So as you can see, the scores improved, and we just recently went to a housing conference, and everybody in the room on the REACT training, which is the inspection, called REACT inspection, we're talking about, how low their scores were and how rough the inspection was. And so our maintenance man sat there very quietly because we had improved. And I'm really proud of that, because our scores, like I said, I've been there since 2013, and each time our scores have improved. And that credit goes to our maintenance staff, who goes in and does a great job at keeping those units in good shape. And then also, credit goes to the city. They have helped us in numerous ways. Anytime that we call the city for help on any type of project, they've helped us with some sidewalk repair. Even at one large snow, we ran out of salt, and we couldn't find it anywhere. And Carlton called, the city called Daryl. I'll be there in a minute, and he was over there to help us out. So a lot of credit goes to Kenton and the staff for the help that they offer us, because sidewalks in our site goes into that scoring, and so we appreciate the help that the city offers us when we need it. and also to our residents. They did such a great job. The type of community that we have one at the Housing Authority is dependent on our residents, and we have so many awesome people that live with us there at the Housing Authority, and they did such a good job on their units, having those clean and having those work orders called into us so we can repair things, because we go and do inspections and we can catch things in those, but between those times, we rely on them to call in work orders. So we were very, very proud of that improvement in our scores. We are also graded in what's called FOS scores, and FOS scores take into account those physical inspections that I just told you about. They also grade our financial performance, they grade our management performance, and then they also grade us under what's called capital fund, and that's grant that we receive to improve our properties. And that's the way, the grade is the way that we manage that grant. And we are a high-performing agency. So we have our physical score, they end up breaking that out into what it would be on a 40-point scale. And so our physical scores at last scoring were 36 out of 40. We got 25 out of 25 on our financial, 25 out of 25 on our management, and 10 out of 10 on our capital fund. So we are what is considered a high-performing agency, and we work really hard to stay that way. Some of the improvements that we've made to the Housing Authority over the past few years, we have gone in with capital funding. We have added additional parking. Back when the Housing Authority was developed in the 70s, sometimes folks didn't have cars, and you certainly didn't have a lot of households that had 2 vehicles. So that's been a little bit of a challenge with our residents who have 1 or more vehicles. So we added some additional parking. We have replaced water heaters in a majority of our units, those that had older water heaters, and we're in the process now, we're almost finished with going through and replacing most of our HVAC systems. And so that helps us to run more efficiently, and our residents do pay their own electric bills, so that helps them too, to have a more affordable electric bill. Moving forward, we're looking at doing some bathroom upgrades. We have bathtubs that are original from the 70s, so we're going to do some upgrades there, and then also do some upgrades with flooring. With the Housing Authority, the rent is based on income, so it's based on 30% of a household's income. And we do receive funding from HUD. It is a federal program, so we do receive some federal funding from HUD, which helps us to supplement lower rents, and also through the capital fund grant, it helps us to make improvements to our complex. Now, Franklin Affordable is a nonprofit housing agency that we developed because with the Housing Authority, as I said, there is a fair clock limit. We cannot develop any additional units through the Housing Authority. So any additional units that we develop must be done through Franklin Affordable, and those are not supplemented by any type of grants from HUD. It's just based on whatever income we can scrounge up. And so the growth there has been a little bit slow. However, I am so grateful to our city leaders, our city commissioners, and our mayor, because several years ago they made a huge investment in Franklin Affordable by giving a plot of land to Franklin Affordable that was at the corner of Madison and Main. So that was planting a seed for us, which has finally been harvested this year here in February. And we are so excited because that was a very large investment in affordable housing. All of the proceeds from the sale of that land are going to go into developing more affordable housing for community members. And, you know, it is one thing to say that you care about affordable housing, but these fine folks put up the actual investment into our organization to make that happen. So we are currently in the planning stages and hope to be actually developing the housing this year over in what people call the Fruit Street, over around Cherry Street. Our plan is to develop some single-family affordable housing We have a lot of apartments that have come up in our community, and some that are on the more affordable side, though they're not income-based. And so we decided that we really wanted to do something in line with single family. I hear all the time, I would love to rent a house. I want a house. I don't want to share a wall with someone. So we thought developing single family housing would be something that would be unique because it's going to be single family but also affordable. And so we are really, really excited about this project, and that would not have been possible without this investment from the city. And I'm so thankful to you all for that investment in Franklin Affordable Housing. When I first began with the Housing Authority and Franklin Affordable Housing, we had two houses. We had a house on Jackson Street and a house on West Street. And over the past few years, we now are up to 11 houses and 3 duplexes. It's a total of 17 units that we have. We do not get any type of grants, like I mentioned, like the Housing Authority does, so we've kind of had to scratch and claw to develop this housing, because our goal is to offer affordable housing. We could certainly, use our equity to buy, a lot more properties, but we wouldn't be able to offer them an affordable rate, and that's not our mission. Our mission is to offer affordable housing. So some of the homes that we purchased were when Bullington Patton did a big sellout of a lot of their properties across from Simpson Elementary. We bought 9 of those homes, and we got a lot of calls from folks who were really scared because they lived in those houses and they were fearful of their rent increasing, and some of the homes were sold. We have made a commitment at Franklin Affordable Housing for all of our residents in those homes to never offer those homes at anything over 80% of fair market rent. HUD sets a fair market rent in this area, in every area, every year. And you can go on to Google and search HUD HUD fair market rent. And so what they say a fair market rent is in 2022 for a 3-bedroom home in Simpson County, they say a fair market rent for that size is $1,023. That's an expensive rent in my eyes, and for a lot of our community members, that's hard for them to attain. So we have set a goal and a promise to not go over 80% of those numbers, because we want to offer those properties at an affordable rate. And as I said, we've had to do this slowly, but this investment from the city is really going to change things for Franklin Affordable. I don't know the specific number because we are in the planning stages right now of developing these affordable single-family homes. But we do intend to get started on that this year, and it will expand our affordable housing pretty significantly. And we're excited to keep growing and keep offering affordable housing opportunities for residents of our city. We recently attended a fair housing meeting over at the Presbyterian Church, and the pastor there, Pastor Van Beek, he did such a great job over there of moderating that and taking questions and concerns from our community. And I took a lot away from that meeting, especially the concerns and questions that were presented. And one of the really big things that stood out to me was the need for collaboration and how effective collaboration is. We each have our specialties. We're each maybe as close to experts as you can get in this area for the field. I don't consider myself necessarily an expert, but I feel that we are, having success with Housing Authority and Franklin Affordable, and we look forward to more collaboration with our city and other organizations to help expand affordable housing opportunities, and we appreciate the collaboration so far. I go to a lot of housing conferences for public housing, and I talk to other directors, and we have something very, very special in Franklin. We have very, very compassionate city leaders who truly do care about affordable housing, and just the way they work with our agency to help promote affordable housing. Other communities do not have that. I've talked to other directors, and it's, you know, there are sometimes even combative relationships between housing agencies and sometimes their cities. And so I'm really thankful for the special relationship that we have here, that we're able to work together, and the investments that you all have made and continue to make in affordable housing. That's it.
Okay.
Mayor, can I ask her?
Yes, Jolie, we take questions.
First of all, I want to thank you for what you all do and the work that you put in it, and the accountability that you have for the work and that opportunity to give people a good living. One of the questions that seems to keep rising or coming to us as a commission, or at least I've heard it numerous of times, is affordable housing. And I guess I'm trying to define what exactly affordable housing is, or at least what that question really is. Now, you all's affordable housing, does that entail someone that'd be able to rent for a lesser price than what a marketable apartment complex or home or duplex, or does that give someone the ability to become homeowners and be able to purchase that house? Because that's what I'm trying to figure out. I think there's a lot of people that would love to be homeowners, but as you know, as homes are going up, the prices of houses for some people may not be affordable, or the inability to manage finances to put them in a position to be able to buy a house. I don't know. That I don't know. So when you say affordable houses, which one of these categories are we talking about? Are we talking about for rent, or give someone the ability to, at some point, to be able to be a homeowner? Which one of those are you speaking of with the housing authority?
That's a great question. So what we have done is rental only.
Okay.
We have not done any type of home ownership programs to date. Ours has been solely with rental. We have transitioned several of our residents from the Housing Authority over to working with Habitat for Humanity. Several of our renters have gone on to purchase Habitat homes. And also, we have transitioned several of our residents from our Housing Authority assisted rental program over to Franklin Affordable, where they've been able to rent one of our more affordable houses. We've done some transitions that way, but we've only done rental as far as our agencies are concerned. We have not done home
Just
ownership.
rental. Okay, so you guys don't work partnership with Habitat. You just help people transition into the purchase of a home, maybe through Habitat.
That's exactly right.
Okay, so after that, once they're gone from what you guys do and over into Habitat, then it becomes a whole different, that's Habitat.
That's exactly right. That would be their program.
Okay.
Dana and I from Habitat for Humanity have been meeting lately. She's the new director over there, and we've been talking about ways that we can collaborate.
Okay.
And so we're definitely open to collaboration with that organization.
That'd be wonderful. Yeah, that would be wonderful, because I know what you guys have, the accountability that you have for anyone that's leasing, renting, keeps that homeowner or that person accountable for the living and the condition and keeping everything in a good place to maintain some beautification within the community. But good, I appreciate that, because I'm still trying to figure out, the difference between someone that's talking about affordable housing and ownership versus rental. And I know that this thing with rental is real big these days, believe it or not. And so, because rent is going up, and helping people to be able to afford a place to live, even if it's rental of something that they can afford, it's wonderful to be able to do that. So I understand now where your position is, and I appreciate you explaining that.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your question, and absolutely, the physical condition of our properties is very important to us.
Absolutely, yes.
Obviously, with the
Yeah.
Housing Authority, we have accountability
Yeah.
with the grading scale of the
Yeah.
physical inspections, but even with Franklin Affordable, as we've taken over the Bullington Patton properties, we've been changing out all the water heaters, changing out the flooring, new windows.
Yeah.
We really do work hard to try to beautify whatever property that we acquire to have it looking nice and
Yes.
something we can be proud of.
And you can see that if you ever go through anywhere the housing authorities have their hand in on it. You know this, it belongs to the housing authority. The accountability is strong, and you can tell that, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Wendell, speaking of the habitat, I really appreciate that you and Dana have started, talking and working together. I think that, I don't know the exact number, but I know the city has donated some land for, to Habitat to build on the houses, but I think they are limited, if I'm not mistaken, they're limited to how many houses they can do a year, because, besides the money that it takes to build the house, a lot of their people are volunteers, and a lot of the supplies they get are either donated or given to them at reduced rates. So a lot of times that limits them as to the number of houses that they can build. It would be nice if they could do more, but I think that they've been limited to maybe 1 or 2 a year, and that's not going to make a big dent in the affordable housing market for people owning their home. But don't know if there's, maybe we could get Dana in here to explain that a little bit more, Kim. So.
And we are certainly open to collaborations and expanding our offerings as we go. This investment that you all made in our organization is a turning point for Franklin Affordable Housing. So our next step is to develop these single-family dwellings, but we're certainly open to, partnering or working with the city to address needs, and perhaps we could look at doing some type of affordable housing purchase program on down the line. We're certainly open to addressing the needs.
Not to get ahead of you in any way, Jolie, but I think if all goes well, we're hoping to get started maybe sometime later this summer or fall on these new houses for the affordable housing. Am I think correct on that?
Yes, you're
Yeah.
exactly right. The Cherry Street lot that we're looking at the very end of the Cherry Street lot, there's a little bit of pooling of water. So we are going to be meeting with the firm in the next couple of weeks to address that, because we want to make sure that we have good land to build on and that we have any issues abated. And then we are working right now with the developer the architect that we use to build our Linden Street duplex to get designs for us for that lot that we hope to be turning ground this year.
Good.
Anyone else have anything?
No, just appreciate all the work they do.
Thanks,
Thank
Jackie.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me and for all the help that you all offer.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Jolie, thank you for
Thank you,
coming.
Jolie.
I think we can all tell just by the information that Jolie has given us how busy they are out there and what a good job they do out there. And if you listen to the scores, that is the best in the state. Jolie didn't iterate that, but I want to iterate that, because those were the best in the state that could be given. And thank you again for the job you do, and your staff, Jolie.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thank you. Okay. Pete, I believe you're next on the agenda here.
Well, Mayor, I was hoping for a welcome like you gave Jolie. That's going to be a tough one to follow right there. He missed my joke.
Okay.
So, just coming down to give you all an update again about where we sit. I think when I was sitting here, been down here a while, and would have told you that I would not be talking about it still come March of 2022. So we are still having some struggles with our normal truck driver here. Back in February, he went out with COVID, and he battled having oxygen deficiencies with the whole realm of things. So he was out for a while. Well, in this same time frame, Mr. Eaton developed an infection in his hip that has now gotten to the point where he is hospitalized and has been having active surgeries to debride the infection. And we believe that they're on top of it and things are moving in the right direction for him. So when you have a gentleman like him that knows the city of Franklin and knows the streets and knows where Mrs. Smith, that she can't get her hand to the street, that is an invaluable thing, and you forget how well these guys are and how much you depend on them until they're missing. So we've struggled down in Franklin for the past few weeks about making sure that we were getting all those slightly things there, and I'm sure you all have been getting the phone calls for it, and I appreciate you dealing with that. And we know that it's an issue. We're on top of it. We now have a gentleman here that is the same caliber that Mr. Eaton is, and he will start to adopt the city of Franklin like it's his own and taking over, because I don't know when, if ever, Mr. Eaton will come back because of the damage that's been done to his leg. So we're on top of that. We're moving in the right direction. We know where we're at, and we're actively down here on a daily basis, making sure that he knows exactly what's going on. So, one, I apologize to you. I apologize to the citizens. It's not the type of message that I like to provide, but it is something that we will own up to, and we'll make it right. So I think at this point we are caught up. We're starting a new week. We're going to be a little bit behind on the recycling, but by tomorrow we'll be back on top of it. And hopefully at the end of the week and through the next couple of weeks, all of your complaints and issues disappear like they once were.
Pete, we appreciate you coming and explaining to the public. We have had lots of calls
Yes, sir.
and complaints, and I think it's good that you come and, as the owner, and explain to people what's going on, and I think together we'll all try to work together to get the issues resolved.
Well, we appreciate that. We've been actively using we have an app that the last time I was here suggested for it was, it's called Waste Connect, and we were now using that to actively send out information on, I know last week we had a pretty big one sent out to the residents that let them know this is what's going on. Be patient with us, we'll get to you, and things like that. So I would encourage them to use it. We've been staying in contact with the girls in the office so they know what's going on. And I would love to tell you that I could come down here and tell you all the good things, but we're going through a phase of struggling. We're moving in the right direction. We have new employees waiting to come on board so we don't have that point where we're struggling for backfills. So, again, I apologize, but we're committed to making sure that those issues go away.
Pete, I just have to say, we have had numerous complaints, and it hasn't just been over the last month. It has been months and months and months. And there's only so many explanations that we can give. You know, you came, that's what I was telling everybody. I mean, there gets to the point, then we are saying the same thing over and over again, and that nothing's getting done. So, first of all, I would say prayers for your employee, Mr. Eaton, and his family, and hopefully he will get better. And I'm not trying to tell Scott Waste how to run their business, but I just think with what has happened in the past, I don't think it's a good idea to have one person that knows Franklin. I think there needs to be more than one person, because if that person gets sick, you're in the same ballgame again.
And ma'am, I agree with you that we need, and at one point in time I did, but in the job market there is today, that there are so many other avenues for these drivers to go work at, that we have been getting our gentlemen of the people that we account for, and we're moving our salaries up, that they're getting cherry-picked is a lot better word for it, but they're getting opportunities to go work for other trucking companies, even into just factories. A lot of the factories around here, there's so many numerous jobs, and they can go in there pushing a button on a line for the same amount of money that we can pay them to give that. Agreed with you 100% that we need those people, but right now we're running through those shortages of employees, just like every other company. And I know that it sounds like a broken record, but that's the reality of where we're at. So I agree with you. It's now when it happens that when we have a different person down here, we as a supervisor or somebody are down here making sure, hey, go down Smith Street, go down Cherry Street, make sure you get Bennington on this day. Because, yeah, it seems like a very straightforward thing for somebody that is from here to know exactly where those little alleys are and backward, things like that. If you're not familiar with it, it's very easy to miss that. And I know that sounds like an excuse, but we're working forward to get this back on, and I hope when I come back here in a month again, that I can give you that report.
And the other complaint I had, and you said last time, if they've got a problem, have them call. The complaint I have now is they call and they get no answer. That it rings and rings and rings and rings. So, you know, we're telling them, call, you got a complaint, you said to us, we'll even give you credit. But if they can't get anybody on the phone, they can't tell them the problem, they can't get a credit, they can't get nothing. So,
Do you have specifics that you can?
no, I don't have specifics,
Well,
but do you want me to start writing down everybody's name and number
If-
that called me and complained? I'll be glad to.
Ms. Bennett, what I would appreciate is if you do have one of those customers that you call my number, I'll give you my number, you can give them my number.
Courtney, do you have a list of the complaints that you've received?
I have several, yes.
Okay,
So
let's give, Mr. Pete Rickard a list of
you
these
provide those
complaints.
to Brittany as well,
Is
correct?
that what we need to be doing?
Yes,
I think
so
that's our.
that's how I knew that's how we were doing it in the past.
Yes.
So that's still very askable, but if it's not getting handled that way, I'm more than happy to take those.
Now, and this is a question maybe for Kenton or Carol, if, you know, somebody is, we discussed it before, he said, you know, give people credit, and we do the billing. Is there a way we can give people credit that have not got their, trash picked up, and then take it off of their bill, that we pay them?
Not without his permit.
Okay,
And we understand that there are times where we have totally done that, and as long as we know exactly who it is and we couldn't rectify it, then yes, we will absolutely do it. I know we do it, quite often. Well, I shouldn't say quite often, but I know we've done it in the past, and that's never been an issue as long as we're working back and forth on it, and, you know, I think we have a good relationship with the girls in the office for that kind of, answer.
and, you know, I'm not,
Let me
Okay.
clarify something. We have a written contract.
Yes, sir.
You are authorizing us today to go off of that written contract to give people credit.
No, we still need to have that conversation. If it is a fully documented,
That's what I want the public to hear.
yes, no, it still has to be an agreement.
You have to still give that. because
Yes, it's
They're
still,
looking at us for accountability.
That's right.
and look, and I'm,
We're getting beat up.
and
I'm hitting calls like that.
I still agree with that. But it is still one of those things that when you guys come looking at, for accountability from us, we're gonna give it to you.
Okay,
I-
just so the public is aware.
Yes.
Right.
Just so you know for the paper. He's not authorizing us, we can't give you the credit. He's gotta give you the credit, so
Yes,
continue to
but
call
it
Waste
is a
Management.
partnership, and look, when we make.
I understand it's a partnership,
Right.
but when there's nobody on the other end of the phone call
right,
to be our partner, it comes back to these
Yeah.
people here, this gentleman here, me,
Right.
and more particularly, and sadly,
yeah,
Courtney and the
Courtney and
And
the,
we understand that, but this is where, you know, we have things in place, that if there are issues where they say that they call and they call and they call, then
Well,
it should be
you've heard the old
easy to-
saying, where the rubber meets the road, that's where we are, Pete. And I can't be more, but I know
Yes, sir.
I'm attacking you, but the reason I'm attacking you is because I see the pain on these people's faces. I see the 20 whatever pages of complaints that were in this agenda packet about your services.
okay, well then I would love to,
I can promise you already sent them up there, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes.
You already get them.
and we understand that, and we're working towards getting those things fixed. We are on top of it,
I understand that,
promise.
and every time you come down here, that's the answer we get.
yeah,
And the only time, I'm doing this, somewhat grandstanding. I'll be the first to admit that. But it's because I know that all of these people, including myself, are tired of getting phone calls.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you know that it's been times when it's been more than a week, 2 weeks?
I believe there are areas that have been that way.
Well, I know that because it's in my community where I live, you know. I just wondered if you knew it, because just like, our attorney says, we getting calls like, I have picked up some trash myself.
Yes, sir. And I promise going forward to not come back here in another month and give you the same answer. I can handle it but if you all are getting those issues, and I'm assuming that when those get elevated to us, yes, it may be a day or so until they get it, that we're rectifying those situations. But if you all are having direct things, I would appreciate
It's
direct
over there
phone
off
calls.
of Roby Street, where I'm speaking of.
And I know exactly what the issue is on that street, so we know that has been a problem, and we will work going forward.
This makes the third time that he's been here telling us they're gonna take care of the problem. So,
I agree, she's right.
you know, I tell you what bothers me more than anything is, you know, we get all these complaints, and I read something just this morning, and I know people say, don't read everything on social media and take it to heart, but when they were complaining about that, the trash and everything, and a woman said, our city commission does not care about our citizens. That hurts, because we do. You know, and we're trying to tell them, you guys are gonna take care of it, but this is the third time that you've told us you're gonna take care of it. So, I mean, we've got to make some decisions.
I'm gonna leave it like this. I would encourage, when you all get the complaints, you heard the man, he will work with them on getting credit. I'm gonna accept it at face value, so let the citizens get with him, and we'll have to let you put your money where your mouth is.
Yes, sir.
Pete, thank you for coming and explaining. We will move on to, at this point, to general government, and that will be discussion and a possible action regarding board appointments to the Historic Preservation Committee. And Ms. Tammy Carey will bring those to us.
Well, in working with the Historic Preservation Committee, we have a really good team. And I'll call them a team more than a committee, because they have really worked together over the last several years to put together guidelines and really have that, feel like the best interest of our community at heart. The committee is made up of 6 volunteers that serve 3-year terms. In October of last year, Susan Hughes was appointed to fill the unexpired term of Debbie Johnson. Debbie had to resign from that position, and Susan's term expires April 30th of this year, and also the term of Tom Moody expires on April 30th of 2022. At our last meeting of the Historic Preservation Committee, the committee did have a conversation. Both Susan and Tom indicated that they would like to continue to serve if that is the will of the City Commission, as these are board committee appointments by the City Commission. So you have that information in your packet, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
I'll make a motion to approve both of them.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the appointments. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second by Commissioner Williams, and we'll have a roll call vote. Commissioner Bennett?
Can I ask a question real quick to Tammy? Tammy, how many members did you say you have?
6.
Okay, and are there staggering terms on that?
Yes, they are.
Okay. How do you get your people? Do they just express interest in it? Do you have people recommending? Because I have had someone tell me that they would like to be a part of this board when there's an opening, so would I give you that name?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I'll keep that on a list. I think that's important, you know. A lot of times people are willing to serve, but we don't know that they're willing to serve.
Okay.
So if we can just document that and have that. In the bylaws, there are guidelines, one representative from the Renaissance Board, one from the City Commission, and then others that have knowledge or experience in architecture, engineering, and historic preservation.
Any further comments?
Okay.
If not, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Bennett?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
My vote's a yes, and that motion carries. Okay, we'll move on to discussion and or possible action regarding proposed ordinance for the third amendment to of the Third Amendment to fiscal year 2021-2022 budget, and Daniel Ritzke will come and bring that to us.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just want to commend Carol for putting this together. She does a great job of just laying out the different expenditures and the changes, easy walkthrough for everyone to kind of follow. This Third Amendment, the two major points that this is going to address is the Motorola payment coming up that was discussed in the March 1st meeting, in the joint meeting, and then the 31W project. The net effect of this amendment is going to reduce from Amendment 2, the general fund by $18,200, FMU by $90,000, and the stormwater fund by $5,500. Even with this effect, with this reduction, we're looking at, from the saving of prior years, still a surplus for this year in both the general fund and FMU. The proposed action is to request that two commissioners sponsor the budget and have first reading.
Could you explain to the citizens what the 31W project is?
Need to?
Yeah.
So and I'm probably not the best person to explain it, but it's a project to expand the sewer capacity on 31W South.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
We had,
We'll be discussing.
Yeah,
Okay, but I just, when they say 31W project, I'm sure they don't know whether that's paving the road or increasing the size of it or whatever, so just wanted to make sure that.
We'll move on to discussion and a possible action regarding request for revocation of subdivision plat, and Scott Crabtree
I am the presenter, but we have the genesis person of this, Amanda East here with us. Amanda, I'd just turn it over to you if you want to present, or if you want me to, I will. You've done the research, I have.
Well, you co-signed on it, so what that's for.
Thank you, Amanda.
So what this is a project for Daniel and Esther Schmucker over on West Madison Street. They, just kind of walk through the chronological order of things here. So they purchased property back in 1990, and the intent was to put a subdivision there by the name of Willow Brook Subdivision. And in 1996, plats were recorded over in the county land records. Much time has passed since then. Those plats are still sitting over there, but the subdivision itself has not been built. The Schmuckers are now in the position where they are under contract with a company out of, I believe, Tennessee, and that company is going to buy the property in its entirety, and they're going to put on their own subdivision. As you might imagine, they don't want to be bound by the terms and constraints of the subdivision plat that the Schmuckers envisioned way back in 1996. And so what we have to do is this process is outlined, I believe, in KRS 100-285, where you can actually revoke a subdivision plat. There's just a series of steps that you have to go through to do that. We've gone through the majority of those steps. The first is that you actually have to get approval from your planning and zoning commission. We have done that, and that was done on March 1st, and the chairwoman, Debbie Thornton, signed the findings and conclusions on that. We provided a copy of those to Mr. Crabtree.
And they have.
And I believe you all have those as well. And so the next thing that has to happen is any entity that has any dedications, like streets or things of that nature, has to sign a letter approving that revocation, which is why we are before you all today, because as I said, that plat includes streets that are on there. And the way that we've written the findings and the way that the letter is written is very specific as to it only affects the things that are on the subdivision plat, only to the extent, and it excludes things that predate that subdivision plat. So for example, there is a sewer line that runs all through this property. We all want that sewer line to stay. We very much like that sewer line. So we're not trying to revoke that. And anything that occurred after that subdivision plat was recorded in 1996 also gets to stay.
But according to the statute, we do have to have that written approval from any entity that has dedications. And so that's why we're here today asking that the city commissioners approve Mayor Dixon signing a letter doing this approval of the revocation of the subdivision plat.
And I've read it, it needs my approval.
And all this property is in the city already, okay.
So we need a motion to authorize the mayor to sign that letter that's in the
Okay.
back.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bennett. Second by Commissioner Williams, I think I heard first. And, we will have a roll call vote then. Commissioner Bennett,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Powell.
Yes.
My vote's a yes, and that motion carries. We're good, Amanda.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Chair members will appreciate it, and good luck with the rest of your meeting, informative as always.
Thank you so much. We will move on to, under general government, to discussion and or possible action regarding proposed ordinance approval, approving interlocal agreement for public or emergency communication equipment. And Scott will,
Very simply, we need two sponsors, we need this and that. So, we have Brownie with James.
okay, we're good there, so,
We're good.
okay.
And we'll have first reading, and I've at least heard from Sam, and they're good with the agreement in here. I did not get back from Mason, but I'm assuming they're all good with it, so.
We'll move on then, under general government, to discussion and a possible action regarding proposed ordinance for property located on Macedonia Road / Highway 1008. And Scott, if you will bring
Again, these two sponsors, this is the one for said land.
And we had already discussed this prior to, and made, sent a letter to them that we, okay.
There is a portion of this property that was originally intended to be zoned for business. It did not get rezoned for business, so this is only the residential portion that we're approving today.
Okay, obviously.
Okay. We have a motion then by Commissioner Bennett.
We don't need a motion.
Don't need a motion?
Sponsors.
Oh, sponsors, excuse me, Scott, yeah, that,
Jamie, and we'll have first reading, under ordinance section.
okay. Under general government, we'll move on to discussion and a possible action regarding proposed ordinance to approve Kentucky Downs Sewer Project.
Yes, sir, Mayor.
And that's 69.
This dovetails with, what Daniel was talking about the 31W sewer project. As many of you know, Kentucky Downs is in the process of a major expansion. They are building a hotel and a convention center on their site out south of town. In conjunction with that, we determined that the sewer line, and I want to make sure that Keith gets this right, or the people understand this, the sewer line that services that facility only does not have the capacity to handle the effluent or the waste coming from that facility. Now, let me explain that for the public's benefit. The wastewater plant itself has plenty of capacity for now and future growth, for as long as we can anticipate truthfully for right now. The one thing that our predecessors did right was they oversized our water plant, oversized our sewer plant where we have plenty of capacity. But it's like a tree from the trunk up, where we've got plenty of capacity at the trunk. As you get out to the far branches, they get thinner and thinner, and we don't have the capacity at the end of the line. Well, as you all know, Kentucky Downs property is at the end of the line. It's on the Tennessee line, as a matter of fact, and that's the very last thing on the line. So, in order to serve this hotel and this convention center, we need to upgrade that portion of the line and the lift stations that service that area. They have agreed to pay for that upgrade and whatever amount it winds up being. We're estimating around $2 million. But since we started discussions on this, time has elapsed, and we really don't know at this point. But they have agreed to pay for that upgrade. As part and parcel of that, as you all know, since Kentucky Downs got historic horse racing, basically the machines out there a few years ago, it created a hardship on our local charities that play bingo and derive income from that to subsidize their operating revenues. In discussions with Kentucky Downs, we made them aware of that, And they agreed to help us offset that by paying $250,000 a year for the next 20 years, or $5 million, to help those charitable type, or quasi-charitable organizations. And they're not really charitable, but they kind of are, like the parks, Arts Council, the entities that truly have lost money from, or as a result of, this little horse racing. So it's a win-win for everybody. They're gonna get their sewer line, but we also get to generate, we're fortunate enough to generate some money for the parks, for the other quasi-charitable organizations to continue with a better level of revenue and ability to provide services. So,
Sounds good.
with that being said, what we need to do, they kind of, we don't know the timing of this is the problem. We know when they're trying to get built, they're trying to get construction done and start operation sometime in the early part of 2023. The problem is, as everybody knows, we don't know how long it's going to take to get them in. The supply chain is stopped, or slowed down with the war in Ukraine. We don't know how that's going to affect it. We know it's going to be at least 6 months. Chris is telling me today
6 to 8 months.
So we've got to order them immediately. That's why, as part and parcel of this, they asked, and I agreed to go ahead and do this by an emergency ordinance, where we have 1 reading instead of 2, where we can go ahead and get the lift stations ordered and get the process started. So that's where we are. We need 2 sponsors for the emergency ordinance. We've got 2 at the end again. First 2 that raised their hand. I figured you will all sponsor this. And we'll have first reading, or first and only reading.
Can I ask a question quickly?
Sure.
Okay, being it's gonna be 6 to 8 months to get the sewer and another, year or so to get the hotel. When, and this sounds kind of awful, but I'm sure that Lisa at the Parks would be curious to know when the first payment to the nonprofits will take place.
First payment slotted for April.
Okay, great deal. Good deal.
They
She'll
make
be happy to know
They
that.
make 4 annual payments of $62,500 per payment.
Okay.
And just to reiterate the emergency, because those lift stations are going to be the longest time frame, that doesn't mean some of the work can't be done in the interim while we're waiting. It's not like we're waiting for the lift stations to start the gravity and the force main install, but those will be what we will be waiting on, so we need to get those ordered just absolutely as soon as possible.
Well, I know that they've already started, like, working on the hotel, and the convention center will be down the road, but this is going to be taking care of both of those entities, providing that they're gonna be built, right? Okay.
Just another thing, just to mention is, there is a staggered timing on that, the convention center and motel. Just from the public perspective, this negotiation or discussion has been going on for over a year.
Yes.
And I have to say that our attorney picked up the ball and ran with it. You know, we were thinking sewer, but there was an opportunity, as you saw from our community services, and it wouldn't happen if Scott really read the tea leaves and jumped in on it. So $5 million in 20 years, that's pretty significant. I just really want to make the public understand that, you know, having somebody to see the opportunity and act on it. I know he would never say it, so.
Well, it was a team effort. You were there.
But like I said, it's a long process.
It has been.
Like I said.
But he didn't give up, though. He kept on.
It's a win-win for everybody, and like I said, I think it's a win for Kentucky Downs, it's a win for the city of Franklin and the services around, so.
And it's a win for the nonprofits, too. So.
Thank you, Scott, for the hard work
Thank
and
you,
all the
Scott.
work that, and getting all of you that have put into this. As our city manager just said, this is a win-win for our community. And this is something that, as like they said, we've been working on for a year. So again, it's a win-win.
Chris.
And we're, thanks, sir.
Yeah. Chris, you have a lot of experience with this type things. I mean, is this normal in a community of our size to have a company like that pay for the complete building of a sewer?
Not for the complete project.
So.
No, it gets fairly complicated, but But no, it would not be common for them to pay for the entire
So,
unit. But it also is, any expansions of that size, though, utilities can't eat that cost.
Right.
It has to be passed along to the business that benefits from the utility upgrade.
Well, and honestly, Commissioner, what we have to look at, all of these neighborhoods that are coming in, they're putting in their own infrastructure.
Right, right.
This is no different than that.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
Can we use it, can we utilize it in other areas out there? Yes. Is there somebody ready to tap on now? No.
But there will be. There'll be growth out there, I'm sure.
Maybe, but I mean,
Yeah.
regardless, I mean, they need it
Yeah.
today.
Right.
Mhm.
We don't have that kind of money just laying around today to throw.
That's right.
Right.
So it's a win for them, it's a win for us.
Right.
Yeah.
Question. How do nonprofits, request to help get part of that funding? Are they already,
Some of that is controlled by Kentucky Games and how they want to direct it. They have already wanted the lion's share of it to go to the parks. So that's where most of it will go. As far as working out the final percentages, we have not done that.
Those other organizations play bingo out there, and they're the ones that have lost money from the bingo due to the machines, that people are doing that rather than go bingo.
We used to have buses come up to play.
Right,
bingo
out of state.
From out of
Right.
state. Now they come up to go there, and they don't play bingo, so they hurt our local.
I was just a discussion in our board is if we could do bingo, we could raise the money for, the organization over the proof, but,
It's really not that.
yeah.
The ability to get bingo money. As a matter of fact, the Parks Board shut their operations down, they were losing money on it.
Right.
If you don't keep a
Yeah.
certain level of.
You gotta,
You
Yeah.
gotta
If you
have
don't-
so much going back.
it's
Yeah.
so much you gotta be making.
Yeah, it's tough, it's tough in
And
today's
those-
market to get
those
into
charity
bingo.
organizations have to give so much away too. So.
And if you don't reach a certain level, then
Right.
the state, the state will take your license.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pull the license.
So the community actions, the Good Samaritans, those are the ones that I'm kind of talking about.
There might still be opportunities there, I can't really answer that. I mean, because I haven't really.
Talk to Sharon at African American Heritage Center, because yeah,
Okay, she's on board.
she knows exactly, because they did it for a while. She knows exactly
They
all
out
about
of
it.
it, though.
Yeah, they're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to pull out.
They got out of it too.
Yeah, they're out of it.
Yeah, that's the problem, it's gonna hurt so badly, but
Sure.
there's a lot of them that got out. I mean, if you can go, see Kentucky Downs, it's kind of a one-stop shop, they had bingo out there too. But you can't get a night now because the ones that wanted it got it, and every night is already taken. But if you can go there and play bingo, and while bingo's on a break, you go there and play the machines.
Sure.
And you go to a restaurant, that's where they go.
Right.
It is, well, it's just hurt us, and it's hurt our other organizations.
All right. We'll move on to ordinances, I believe is next, and Miss Kathy Dillard will take those for us.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll have second summary reading today, ordinance number 2022-007, and ordinance adopting new and amended subdivision regulations for the city of Franklin, Kentucky. And I will need a first and second motion for approval.
So moved by Commissioner Powell.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner
Yeah.
Bennett, and we'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Bennett?
Absolutely, yes.
Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
And that ordinance passes unanimously. We'll move on and do first summary reading of ordinance number 2022-008, and ordinance rezoning land located on the east side of Harding Road and the south side of Macedon Road as follows: approximately 36.61 acres from AG agricultural to R1S, single-family residential, based upon a recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission from a petition filed by Caliber Contracting, Inc.
Then we'll move on and do first summary reading of ordinance number 2022-009, and ordinance amending the annual budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021, and ending June 30, 2022, by estimating revenues and appropriations. And we'll have first summary reading of ordinance number 2022-010, an ordinance of the City of Franklin, Kentucky approving an interlocal cooperation agreement for the placement, operation, and maintenance of a radio communication system and tower for the City of Franklin in Simpson County, Kentucky. And finally, we'll have emergency first reading of ordinance number 2022-011, an ordinance approving an agreement between the City of Franklin, Kentucky and Kentucky Downs LLC, authorizing the mayor to sign the agreement and declaring an emergency to exist. And I will need a first and second motion for approval on that one.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. We have motion by Commissioner Bennett, second by Commissioner Williams. We will have a roll call vote. Commissioner Bennett?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams?
Yes.
Commissioner Powell?
Yes.
My vote's a yes, and that motion carries.
This concludes first and second summary reading of these ordinances. The full text is available at City Hall at the Office of City Clerk during normal business hours and will be available on the city's website upon passage and publication.
Thank you, Kathy. You do such a good job reading those and taking care of those. And you lately, you seem to have gotten a really good workout on.
We have.
That will take us then into executive session, and that will be land acquisition, deliberations on the future acquisition or sale of real property by a public agency where publicity would be likely to affect the value of a specific piece of property to be acquired for public use or sold by a public agency, and that's under KRS 61810-1B. Also, under executive session is litigation, and that's discussion of proposed or pending litigation under KRS 61810-1C, and personnel, and that will be discussions or hearings which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee or member, and that's under KRS 61810-1F. Also, under executive session is business, and that's discussion between a public agency or a representative of a business entity concerning a specific proposal where an open discussion would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of business. And that's under KRS 61810-1G. I will need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Williams, second by Commissioner Bennett. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We now move into executive session. Do I have a motion that we come out of executive session?
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bennett,
Second.
second by Commissioner Williams. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, and we now are out of executive session. And we'll move on to, Kenton, do you have,
Yes, Mayor. Got a memo that I put there on your desk that we've become aware of. Kids from the Block doing a run on Saturday, March 19th. They hadn't come to the commission. From what I understand, talking to Ashley, that they had dropped the ball. They had it scheduled, and the person that was supposed to do no longer works there, and they have all the events scheduled. So you can see that this is late notice, but the motion is to approve the closure of a portion of South College Street for Kids on the Block, the Shamrock Spirit, on Saturday, March 19th, 2022, from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. The reason I'm saying this is because we have a new procedure that we put in place, and this doesn't follow that procedure. So obviously, to kind of feel different, I need the commission's approval, obviously, on this.
Well, I think they're gonna do it, and I think for the safety of the kids that under this circumstances, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we do it.
Okay, we have a motion to do this for Saturday. Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second by Commissioner Williams. Is there any further discussion?
I just have a question. It says that they're going to put a door-to-door visit and placement of a flyer along, the road. Do you know when that's going to take place?
No, I had asked that they would have to notify the public, so I will follow up to make sure it's not done on Saturday morning.
Well, I was getting ready to say,
But
this
they ain't got much
is,
time.
you know, they just have like 3 days
Right.
to get that done, so, you know. That would be my only, you know, reason that I wouldn't vote for this, is the people haven't, they haven't been notified, and, you know, you can't tell them Saturday morning that they're gonna close the road, so.
Well, this is Monday, so they got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and
I'll
Friday
just,
to get it
follow up
done.
with a phone call and say they have to have it done at least by, say, Wednesday.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
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 I would say so.
Well-
Give them 2 days to,
You can make your motion contingent upon them contacting everybody.
Okay,
Do
well,
we- do we have
I'll
a
modify
form
my
that
motion
they-
to that effect.
where that, the people would sign that they've been informed
We
to
haven't
do
done
that?
that.
Okay.
There's nothing, other than they done this, yeah, other than they done this last year. I
Mhm.
mean, it's
Right.
looks like it's an annual event. They've done it for
They-
several years in a row. so
Yeah.
it's- And, just from my understanding, I think they already have up to 70 or 100 kids that's already signed up to participate. And it's a charity. Obviously, it's to raise money, so other than, I don't know what to say. It goes against our policy, but the cause is good. But I think as long as, you know, if the commission agrees, we get the door hangers by Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right.
I
I'll
would say,
modify
yeah.
my motion to that
Yeah.
effect.
Okay.
I've written that down. Commissioner Williams, will you modify your second accordingly?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We'll do a vote. Commissioner Bennett,
Yes,
Commissioner Williams,
Yes.
Commissioner Powell.
Yes.
My vote's a yes, and that motion carries then. Scott, you have anything to report? Okay. Kenton, you have anything further that you could bring?
Thank you.
Okay, well, Commissioner Bennett?
no, just, you know, keep everybody that's still dealing with COVID and their families in your prayers, and anyone has sick and shut-in relatives, and, you know, just give them a little prayer today. So,
Okay, Commissioner Williams?
No, Mayor, the only thing that I knew, if Wendell was here, he would speak of the event that went on Saturday, and it was really nice. The mayor represented the city, and Wendell represented the family, but the only thing we dropped the ball on was, the proclamation.
Right.
And you said that you would take care of that, so everything, we learned a lot. It was an educational affair, really. Educational affair, that's all I have, Mayor.
And I did not realize Caden was his son.
Oh, yeah.
I graduated with Caden.
Is that right?
Yeah, and I never realized that growing up. you know.
Yeah, and Felita's his daughter that,
He's such a level-headed,
Right.
great guy, great guy.
and Felita, his daughter, used to work for me on the police department.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Powell?
I'd just like to compliment the mayor on his part in the ceremony. It was a great ceremony, and I thought it was well deserved for what he's done for civil rights and for Franklin and for the nation.
Right.
And with that, I'll make a motion with adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner Powell to adjourn. Have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Williams. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And we stand adjourned.